Ever since the Garden of Eden, snakes have gotten a bad rap. But let's not forget that reptiles are still God's creatures and still part of His plan. Well, it turns out it's a rainy day here at the zoo. So leave your fear at the door and let's go inside and look at some of the reptiles here at Creation Kingdom Zoo. So today we're working with snakes and, well, we have an employee here who doesn't like snakes that well, but I think we can help him get over his fear.
I hate snakes. I don't want to hold a snake. I would rather clean a toilet every day for the rest of my life than hold the snakes that we have. The nicest snakes in the world, they could talk to me. I don't want to hold them.
Ha! A snake talking to a human. You know, come to think of it, the last time that happened, it didn't go so well. Will's not alone in his concern about snakes.
So in the zoo, only about 10% of visitors enjoy the creepy, crawly reptiles. I don't know why that is. I think it's something we're innately wired with from birth to not like reptiles right off the bat.
There's no explanation for why an animal with no arms and no legs can always swim. I don't like them.
But I hope that after listening to some of the keepers that we have here today, you'll learn a little bit more about how important these reptiles are in the ecosystem surrounding us.
Will likes snakes, he respects snakes, he understands their place. He just hopes their place isn't super close to his place.
I almost ran one over by accident, so I went back to make sure because I was working at a wildlife rehab. I owed it to the snake to bring it back. I was praying that I didn't have to find the snake on the road, and I didn't, which was a huge relief. I would rather jump off the roof that we're standing under than pull a snake out of its enclosure.
Personally, I like reptiles, okay? It's not something that I would consider my favorite. I do enjoy going to the reptile houses. I like seeing the various types of snakes. Probably the Gaboon viper is my favorite, all-time favorite snake. But there are so many different reptiles that are they're cool to look at. You know, you've got your eyelash vipers, you've got your king cobras, the bushmaster. So there's tons of reptiles that are really cool to look at. I like them. We just don't keep a large number of them because, again, it's not something that's real popular with visitors, but it's also something that I have an interest in, but not a passion for.
While Will finishes his lunch and gets mentally prepared to face snakes, my dad has a couple of large reptiles to show us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
What we have is a Red Tegu lizard. Your tegus are from South America. Just an interesting lizard. A lot of times people can mistake these tegus for monitors because we're used to large lizards being monitors. But tegus and monitors are two totally separate species. There's a lot of differences between the two. One of which is that your species of monitors are all somewhat venomous. Take a little piece of the skin off there. This one at the zoo, his name is Tubbs, all right? Sometimes people will see these large jaw muscles. When you see this, it gives these red tegus especially, but even your black and white tegus will have almost an overweight appearance. But these large jaw muscles serve a function. They were created to be massive eaters. So these guys have extra large jaw muscles, a little bit larger than a lot of your other lizards in order to consume large amounts of prey. It also gives them the appearance in the wild of being a little stronger, a little tougher. And again, all of your tegus will have these larger jaws, but your red tegus tend to have them a little bit more. He's sticking out his tongue there like all reptiles. They're using that tongue to sense the environment around them. He's essentially smelling. Red tegus are more of a meat eater than some of your other subspecies of tegus. So these guys here in the zoo usually gets live mice, you get chickens sometimes. Tubbs here is a pretty good eater. They're a lot more docile than some of our other species of tegu. These guys are good for educational programs because they, you can see, he just kind of hangs out.
Red tegus can weigh up to 50 pounds.
Lengthwise, anywhere from 3 to 4.5 feet. Tegus can climb trees. They're very excellent climbers. They're also excellent swimmers. Interestingly enough, these red tegus can hold their breath for about 45 minutes underwater. And that helps them when they're crossing rivers in some of the wetter areas across South America. They are also difficult to believe, again, when you take a look at the size of these chubby jaws, but these are one of the fastest lizards on Earth. If you were gonna run lizard races, these guys would be one of the ones you'd put in the races. They can run 20, 23 miles an hour.
And they're also part of our educational programs.
It's a good opportunity for kids and adults alike to be able to touch the animals and pet them, and we don't really worry a whole lot about a bite from these guys. Our black and white tegus are a little different. They have a little bit more of an attitude per se. Most of your monitor lizards are a little more streamlined in their bodies. I've got a Nile monitor that we'll look at here in a minute. You can tell the difference not only in their appearance, but in their attitudes.
So, where did all the different lizards come from?
So from an evolutionary standpoint, we take mutations and natural selections, and that diverges into the different species of animals. But from a creation standpoint, we can see that our creator put enough genetic variability inside those lizards in order for those lizards to be able to become several different types of lizards. But they're still staying within the lizard kind. They're still staying a reptile. We don't see any evidence of natural selections nor mutations changing this lizard into an ostrich over a specific period of time. So I think that the lizard is a good example of how our creator used the genetic material for one animal to be able to specifically create that type, that kind.
This is our Nile monitor. This guy's got a little more spice.
Oh!
Time out. Instant replay.
You can see it has a little bit more of a long, slender body, although...
You notice how I moved back just a little bit as my dad's talking about this rowdy guy? Okay, let's rewind so you can hear what he says.
So in comparison to the Red Tegu that we saw just a bit ago, this is the Nile monitor. A much different lizard. You can see even body-wise, this lizard's body style is a little more long and slender, right? Not quite the chubby jaws that the Tegu has. These guys as an adult can reach about 8 feet long. This is a young Nile monitor here, so not quite reached that 8 feet. There's a lot of interesting things about these guys though. For starters, their attitude's just a little bit different. It's difficult.
Sassy.
A little more sassy, that would be what I'd say too. You can hear kind of a hissing noise, and that's just her letting us know that she's not for the timid. They can deliver pretty nasty bites.
And I'm still keeping an eye on that tail.
So these guys are a little more aggressive. If I were looking for pets, I would probably go more along the lines of the Red Tegu as opposed to the Nile monitor. Weight-wise, these guys are not gonna get as heavy as the 50-pound tegus.
And there's an interesting relationship between these lizards and termites.
In the spring of the year, the female Nile monitor will swim up the Nile, right? They'll swim up rivers and bodies of water. They're excellent swimmers. If you take a look at those claws, they are designed for digging, right? So in the spring of the year, the female's gonna swim up, they're gonna find a termite nest on land. She's gonna take those claws and dig into the termite nest. And what happens next is really unique. It's an example of how God uses two living things totally separate to work together for a common purpose. So she digs into this termite mound, lays about 60 eggs. When she's finished laying those eggs, she takes off, heads back out of there, right? But the termites now have a big hole in their nest.
And they're pretty mad about that.
They're not too happy about a hole in the house, are they?
Right.
So what happens is the termites start going in to repair the hole. They don't worry about the eggs. They're not worried about that. That's not a threat to them. They need to get the hole patched up. So the termites all work together. They get the hole patched up, and then that humidity, that moisture inside the nest, as well as the heat that's generated inside, is what helps these monitor eggs to incubate. The babies hatch out, they head off into the wild. Now they're excellent climbers, right? The claws that help them to dig those holes through the termite mounds are also helpful in getting them up trees. So good climbers, good swimmers, and excellent runners.
What do you think between a Red Tegu and a Nile monitor, who would win?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the Nile monitor would probably win that race. Nile monitors can run up to 29 miles per hour. in comparison to that Red Tegu. Pretty fast, but not fast enough at 20 miles an hour.
I would put my money on this guy.
Good choice.